Good morning, everybody. Thank you
Good
very
morning.
much. Good morning.
Good
Thank you very
morning.
much. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Good morning. Mr. and Mrs. Fox, would you mind just coming off screen for a few moments, just while we get started, and the chairman will bring you in, okay? Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning for the licensing subcommittee hearing in relation to Foxy's Deli in Penarth. My name is Amy Rudman, and I'm the Democratic and Scrutiny Services Officer supporting the meeting today. May I start by reminding everybody present that the meeting is being live streamed to the internet, as well as recorded, and this recording will be archived for future viewing on the Council's website. Could all participants please mute themselves when not speaking in order to avoid any background noise or feedback when other participants are speaking? And if a participant wishes to speak, could they please put their hands up using the raise hand function in Teams, or raising it physically on screen? If a participant raises their hand via the function and they're not subsequently invited to speak by the committee chair this morning, please could you turn your camera on to indicate or place a message in the chat function. When invited to address by the chair, please could all participants ensure that their microphone and camera is on to ensure that you can be seen and heard when actively participating this morning. If this is not possible for any reason, please bring this to the attention of myself or the chair as soon as possible. Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. The chat function may be used to highlight any technical difficulties and or to grab the attention of myself or the subcommittee chair. If you're having any difficulty hearing or being heard when addressing the committee, then please could you let myself or the chair know as soon as possible. I've introduced myself as the Democratic Scrutiny Services Officer. I'd just like to briefly introduce the licensing subcommittee, who are Councillors Drake, Councillor Norman and Councillor Bruce, who are on screen for you this morning. Also in attendance is Mr. Price, who is the legal representative for the Vale of Glamorgan Council, as well as Miss Evans from the licensing department. Also who have joined us this morning are Mr. and Mrs. Fox, who are the applicants this morning, and also Mr. Booker. Representations have also been received from a Mrs. Cheetham, but she's being represented this morning in her absence by Mr. Booker. So to start proceedings this morning, could I please ask for nominations for the subcommittee chair?
I nominate Councillor Drake.
Thank you, Councillor Norman. Councillor Bruce, are you happy to second that nomination? Yes, okay. Any further nominations? No? Okay. So no dissent there. I duly elect Councillor Drake as the chairman for the committee hearing this morning. And can I pass over to yourself, please, Councillor Drake, for declarations of interest? Thank you.
Right, thank you for that. I will ask members, have you got any declarations of interest?
None from me.
No? No, nothing? Right, thank you. Well, I'll move on to the report for the Licensing Authority, and I'll hand it over to the officer who will take us through this application, which will be looked at under the Licensing Act 2003, which as previously says is an application for the variation of premises licence for Foxy Deli, 7 Royal Buildings, Victoria Road, Penarth. I'm not sure who the officer is this morning that's going to take us through it.
You have Kirsty that will be coming on screen to take you through that, Chair. And can I just also mention that obviously the procedures for the hearing this morning have been shared with yourselves and the subcommittees on page 11.
Yes.
So that will start with Kirsty taking us through the report, and then we can raise any questions of her at that point.
Right, I'll hand over to Kirsty now then.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so this report is to consider an application which has been submitted by Sean Fox to vary a premises licence under the Licensing Act 2003 in respect of Foxy's Deli, 7 Royal Buildings, Victoria Road, Penarth, CF64 3ED. So if I take you through the report, the premises currently benefits from a premises licence which authorises the sale of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises. between Monday and Saturday, 0830 hours to 1800 hours, and on Sundays from 1000 hours to 1400 hours. There are currently no conditions attached to the licence other than the mandatory conditions, and a copy of the current premises licence can be found in Appendix A of your report. On the 5th of July 2023, the Licensing Authority received an application to vary the current premises licence, and a copy of the variation application can be found in Appendix B of your report. The application requests to vary the sale of alcohol hours for consumption on and off the premises to Monday to Thursday, 0830 hours to 2240 hours, and on Fridays and Saturdays, 0830 hours to 2330 hours, and on Sundays, 0830 hours to 2240 hours. The proposed opening hours are Monday to Thursday, 0830 hours to 2300 hours, Fridays and Saturdays, 0830 to 0000 hours, and on Sunday, 0830 hours to 2330 hours. So effectively creating a 20 minutes to half an hour drinking up time. So the application includes an operating schedule, which has set out the steps that the applicant proposes to promote the licensing objectives. These can be found in Appendix Appendix B of your report, Section M of the application form. So some of the steps that the applicant is proposing is they've offered to have a CCTV system installed, keeping an incident log. All bottles and glass will be removed from public areas as soon as the contents are empty. Notices to be displayed requesting public and staff to respect the needs of local residents and leave the area quietly. Doors and windows to be kept closed after 2100 hours except for access and egress to minimise noise. Customers not to be permitted to use the outside area after 2200 hours. On any evening when regulated entertainment taking place, the premises will undertake a risk assessment of required SIA registered door staff to be employed from 1900 hours until the close of the premises. Any bars or service points will only be within the building. The premises will operate a Challenge 25 policy, and then they've also offered a condition in relation to relevant staff training. 2 representations have been received in respect of the application, and these can be found in Appendix C of your report. So these are, one is from a local resident and one is from a local landlord. As part of the local resident representation, 4 videos have been submitted, and I'm sure the residents' representation here today can talk you through those videos. No representations were received from any responsible authorities, and that is the application. So the committee is asked to determine the application having regard to the council's statement of licensing policy, the guidance issued, the statutory guidance, the application and any representations that are submitted. So thank you, Chair. Any questions?
Does any member wish to raise any questions to Kirsty? No? Okay then, thank you very much, Kirsty. I will now invite the applicant or their representative to present their case. I presume they will be coming on screen shortly?
Yes, they are with us, Chair. You have Mr. and Mrs. Fox who are connected. Mr. and Mrs. Fox, if you wouldn't mind turning your camera on at this point.
Hi.
Hello, good morning. Thank you. Just to confirm, you are up on screen now and we can hear you.
Okay, great.
So if you'd like to take us through anything you'd like to say as part of your representations, please.
Oh, hi. Thanks everyone for coming along and supporting us. At this point, do I challenge the objections or do I just state why we're doing this?
It's just stating why at this point, Mr. and Mrs. Fox.
Okay, well, I'm sure as most of you know, we've been here 22 years, family-owned business. It's a small family-run, family-orientated deli and cafe. when we opened the deli, we were given a license. Well, we applied and we were given a license from trading from 8:30 for alcohol until 6. We didn't particularly want the 8:30, which is what people have been a bit concerned about. We obviously don't serve or sell alcohol from 8:30 in the morning. So that is one issue that, you know, I would like to address. It's not our, you know, idea to do this. We've been here 22 years. We've been very successful and we've become a hub of the community for lots of families in Penarth. But the last year has been the most challenging financially. We are struggling, and as most of you know, Penarth as a town is struggling for independent businesses. There have been 18 business closures in Penarth this year, if you include the banks. The rest of them are independent businesses. In order for us to survive, we feel we have to change and adapt, and we would like to just have some extra hours at the end of the day where we can offer maybe some, you know, sharing platters, glass of wine to the families that come to Foxy's regularly. You know, it's not a big bar, it's not a disco, it's not cocktails. We just have to get another small stream of income to keep us going. Our business is dependent on both our salaries, pays our mortgage. And so we just need a chance to keep going. We've survived COVID, we've survived a previous recession, and we just need a bit of help from the council to not to be the next business to close in Penarth, basically. Thank you. That is why we've done it. And to keep jobs for the people, 9 people that we have working for us. Do you want to say anything about that?
That's quite, no, I just concur with all that. Yeah, it's a struggle at the moment. We need to try and adapt.
Right, thank you for that. Does any member wish to raise any questions or any clarifications on this? What's been Councillor Norman?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Fox. There's a few questions I'd like to ask. First of all, why do you feel the need to change from what is basically a cafe to a bar, which is in essence what you're going to be changing into?
No,
we don't want to be a bar. We still want to be as we are. We serve glasses of wine at lunchtime now. We're not going to be, you know, doing big spirits or cocktails. We're just a family restaurant in Penarth, which lots of people tell us they can't take their kids into some of the places in Penarth. They don't feel, you know, it's the right kind of environment for them. What they like to do is in the summer months, maybe sit out and have a glass of wine with the meals that we offer already. We're not changing at all.
So you're not going to allow people just to come in off the street and buy alcohol? They're going to have to buy a meal?
No, they can have a beer. They can have a glass.
Anyway.
They can do that anyway. Anywhere, yeah. They can do that now.
So it's virtually setting up as a bar?
No, not at all. We're just having just a few more opening hours, that's all, as we are. We're not changing anything.
What is the relevance of off-licence sales? Does this mean it can be taken outside and drunk outside, or?
Well, as Kirsty said, we have an outside area, but that will shut. No one can go out there past 10 o'clock.
No, what about the area out the front of the premises? Is that connected to you, Todd? And will that be in use about till 10 o'clock in the evening?
Yeah, it's got opening hours to 10 o'clock now anyway.
Out on the main road, the one on the main road. Is that part of your building?
Yeah, the parklets.
Yes.
Yeah, that's open to that can be open to 10 o'clock at the moment. That's the planning the council gave us when they gave us the parklets.
But you haven't been using them. You haven't been using them to 10 o'clock in the evening.
No, we haven't. No.
But you intend to use them now?
Well, we'd like to, because we are struggling financially and we just need a few extra hours trading. That's all we're asking for. We're not changing, we're not a bar, we're not going to suddenly reinvent ourselves. It's just Foxy's Deli, as everyone knows and loves it, with a few extra hours so people can just stay a bit longer than throwing them out at 6 o'clock.
So you have people sitting out on the public highway drinking alcohol at 10 o'clock at night?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know how it would go. Maybe no one would come.
But that's the licence we've been offered.
That's what we've been offered. So that's what we're trying to achieve.
Thank you.
Councillor Bruce, do you wish to ask any questions?
No, the only question that was in my mind was the license from 8:30 in the morning, but they've already answered that.
Yeah, we don't know why we got that, but we couldn't change it.
I just thought, beer with breakfast just doesn't work.
No, definitely not. No, we did say, should we make that later? And they went, well, you can't change it because it's already been given to you. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, no, I understand.
A quick question to you all. Have any of you ever been to this before?
Yes.
Yeah,
I know,
so
I
you
reckon,
know what
yeah.
we're about.
Yeah,
then?
I recognise you.
Yeah. You know what our ethos and what we do.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
I've got no further questions. Councillor Norman covered all the queries that I had. Is it anybody else want to raise any issues? No? Thank you very much for your presentation. And obviously we will move on now to the next item, which I will ask whether any responsible authorities present who wish to provide any factual information about their involvement with these premises. Have we got anybody, Amy?
No, Chair, no responsible authorities have made any representations. So the only other parties this morning are other persons. So you do have Mr. Booker, who is with us, to provide, if you'd like to invite him in now to provide his presentation.
Yes, I will invite the other parties in to give their presentation. So I presume Mr. Brooker's on?
Yes, he's just come on screen for you now.
Thank you. I'll hand over to you, Mr. Brooker.
Good morning.
Hiya.
As you are aware, I'm here representing somebody who's put a representation forward who lives above the Foxy's Deli and is very, very concerned of the potential nuisance that may emanate from the premises if it were allowed to open until 23:30 in the evening. As one of the councillors has just mentioned, the outlets are available for people to sit outside and drink until 10 o'clock in the evening. There is already a premises there called Gin 64, which offers this service. Would a loss to understand why Foxy's Deli would need to open till that time. They've already said it's a family-orientated business. They want young families to come. Why would you need a license till 23:30 at night?
Is that a question?
It is a question.
Oh,
Well, it's not. That's irrelevant. Whether we're not going to ask kids to come in at 10 o'clock at night. What we're saying is, the reason behind that is we are a family-run business, that we would encourage families to come, not necessarily their children at 10 o'clock, but people who have children. This is a big part of our business, lots of families. So it's not a question of wearing kids in there at 10 o'clock at night. That's not the point. You misunderstood what we were saying.
and also the gin bar, that it's a different, completely opposite to us, as you know, and they don't offer food, of any sort. So what people are saying is lacking is, they don't want to go to the railway. The Ocho's quite noisy as well. There isn't anything that, a lovely, nice little place. We know when we have our theme nights, they all come and it's lovely. Yeah.
Is it really necessary to be open till 11:30 at night for the type of clientele that you're trying to attract?
What do you consider as
Acceptable
then?
Well, not 23:30. Not when you have a facility next door. So within 100 yards, you have Gin 64, your potential premises open till 11:30, and then there's the added issue of the pageant rooms, which are just down the road again. So in this very concentrated area, we have 3 establishments that could possibly be operating late into the night in a residential area. It's unacceptable.
So what time do you think would be nice?
What time do you think it'd be nice? You're operating the business. I think 23:30 is totally unnecessary. I think why don't you try 8 o'clock and see if you get any business? You have a license, I believe, till 6, but yet you haven't opened till 6 to try if you still have clientele at that time. You haven't even tested the water with the license you've got. Is that correct?
Well, that's not for you to really question our business ethic, is it, really?
I'm not questioning your business ethic. I'm saying if you have a license currently, why aren't you using it and see if there is clientele and it's worthwhile applying for this license?
Because there's no one's. Why would you bother to stay there till 6? What's the point of that?
Well, what's the point of it's open until 11?
Because we generate more money and we can survive.
Could I just ask you, have you been involved in negotiations with a property developer to buy your property?
No.
Oh, people ask us at least every month. Someone says, "Oh, you ever think of selling?" And we go, "We would obviously for the right price, but we're not selling at the moment, no." And we've not advertised it anywhere.
You've had lots of people interested over the years.
Yeah, over the years, people come in. Oh, I'd love to do this. They think it's really easy. Yeah, but no.
Can I ask you again, were you recently in discussion about selling your property with an extended license to a property developer who's well known in the Vale of Glamorgan?
Yeah, someone did approach us, but nothing happened. Nothing happened. It's not for sale.
Well, I think the business is for sale, and the reason you are applying for this license is to make it more sellable, because it will extend it to business opportunities for cocktail bars. We were approached by the person you were in discussion with, who had intentions of turning your premises into a cocktail bar. That's correct.
No, nothing about it. We were approached, but it didn't go anywhere.
You do know something about it, it just didn't go anywhere.
We're always approached by people.
Every month someone says, "Oh, I'd love to do this. Have you ever thought of retiring?" Yeah, I'd love to retire, but not at the moment.
Mr. Booker, have you got any other points that you would wish to raise? Because I do feel that question's been answered by Mr. and Mrs. Fox. Is there any other points you'd like to put forward?
Yes, there are.
Okay. If we could hear your, sorry to interrupt you, but if we could hear your representations in full, and then everybody will have the opportunity to ask questions at the end then, if that's okay.
Thank you, Amy. I don't want this to turn into an argument. Thank you.
I didn't think it was turning into an argument. I was just making a point that I believe that the proprietors are looking to get this license to sell the property on, to market it. I'll leave it there. Thank you. I made my point.
Can we have your further representation then, please?
You can. Can I just ask you, the licensing committee now we're on, how will, if this license is granted and the business is sold and there's a change of ownership and a change of direction, how does that affect the residents? How will you manage that?
Perhaps Richard might be able to answer that question, because I can't really answer that.
Chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So issues regarding whether or not a future business is sold or not are not relevant to today's decision. In terms of regulating businesses, if they change, the license can be reviewed. If a business is sold, that license would have to be transferred in any event to a new proprietor, a new DPS, and a new licensee. So what happens in the future isn't relevant to the decision today.
Well, I think it is relevant, because if they have the license and it's granted and the business is sold, the impact may increase upon the residents.
The license doesn't. The license doesn't go with the business.
No, it goes with the. So it doesn't go with the bond. So it's untransferable.
You can transfer it, but there would have to be a transfer of the license, which would be a new process in itself. So, okay. For example, if it transferred and it was going to go from a deli to a nightclub, that would be considered that point.
Right, but if it was going from a deli to a bar, would that require further investigation? or reapplication?
It's frozen.
Has Richard frozen?
Richard's frozen.
Amy, you're on mute.
He has frozen for myself, Chair. If you bear with me one
Oh, he's
moment.
back, is
Richard,
he?
I think you're back
He's back.
now.
Okay. What I'm saying is the application before us is the application. We are not considering what may happen in the future or may.
Mr. Price has frozen for myself. I'm not sure if he has for yours. Oh, he's back now.
Sorry, I've moved my laptop closer to my router.
That's okay. No worries.
Okay, I think he's made the point, and I think I understand that if the business is sold or transferred, the license will transfer with it, and the nature of business could change. So that is obviously a concern for that's why we've made the representation. Partly why we've made the representation.
But that's not a licensing consideration for today.
No.
I accept what you're saying. I accept what you're saying. I was just asking the question for clarification. Thank you. The issue we have with this application is that the person I'm representing lives 10 feet above Foxy's Deli, 10 feet. And in the summer, the parklets will be in use to 10 o'clock at night. They're already in use for Gin 64. So there is an ambient level of background noise, which at times can be oppressive. And this is going to be compounded by providing a license for Foxy's, where a bar type scenario, whether food is served or not, people will be drinking alcohol in the parklets outside my friend's property, and it's unacceptable. The noise levels will be too much. And I think that the licensing committee need to look at this very, very carefully. In the past, we have had huge problems with Gin 64, albeit those problems have abated and we haven't had problems with them for some time. But I think that's due to the fact that the trade seems to have dropped off. Even so, parklets till 10 o'clock at night, people on the street. If you had both parklets full, you would have some 40 people there, people coming and going. It's unacceptable.
Is that it?
No,
Thank you,
sorry, I could go on forever.
Is that all of your representation points now, Mr. Booker?
Has the committee read through the representation that has been presented in document form?
Yes, the committee have had all papers and video footage relevant to the representations in advance of the meeting. They've had that for over a week now. So the committee are fully aware of all the representations made in advance.
I'm sorry, the question I asked was had they read it, not if they had it.
We've read it and watched the videos as well.
Thank you very much.
And my colleagues have done the same.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no further points from yourself, Mr. Booker, we
Well,
can open.
just last one.
Okay.
Last one. To the committee, I would just say this. If this application was going out 10 feet underneath your bedroom windows, would you approve it? Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Right. Mr. Brooker. Does anybody, any other representations want to make any summing up? No. No, I'll move on to you. The next item is whether the applicant or the representative wish to make a brief closing statement summarising their case and any closing remarks.
Oh, yes, please.
Right.
Oh,
if you'd like to,
yeah, thank you.
we'll open it up to you. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So I know, I understand that Olwyn, you know, really doesn't like the parklets. So what I'm trying to say is, I've read the all objections and I've seen the videos. If Gin 64, which seems to be the problem here, are so bad and have had so many complaints, why haven't the police objected? The police are fine with our application. They've made no objections at all. So I'm a bit, you know, it's not, I know it's only my opinion, but it must be awful for Olwyn if they have a big party late at night. But I was there last night, and at 10 o'clock, there was no one outside. They've never breached the rules. And I mean, and I know this is about Gin 64, and it's a big issue for Olwyn. So I'm just saying, if it's that bad, then the police would have done something and opposed our licence, which they haven't, which is lovely for us. We've got their support, which is great. I've also got some letters from residents who live in the same building as Olwyn, Mrs. Cheetham, who are supporting our application. So, you know, I've got these. If I can send them on to you. There's also a lovely family living above the gin bar with a little baby. They support our application as well. So these are the people who are, again, 10 feet above us, who have no objection. So, you know, I don't know, it's very confusing. Yeah.
Can we see those letters? Can you submit them, please?
I can email them, yeah.
Fine. No, I think they should have come in with the with your application, because if they support it, I think that's all power to your elbow.
Oh, okay. I'll forward them on. Thank you.
Can I just interject at this point? The application is being considered today on the papers that are before us. You can state you could have submitted those letters in support if you wanted to.
I didn't realise.
But in any event, what you've stated is that you have letters of support. In the absence of seeing those, we will take that at face value.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.
So just one last point. This is for me to finish. If this licence is granted, is it possible for the council to look at conducting noise assessments external to the property? And what about soundproofing for the premises and for the residents above which are objecting?
Mr. Booker, it isn't actually you to have the final word. It's for the applicant to have the final word. There have been no objections from the responsible authority, environmental health. In certain cases where there's issues regarding soundproofing, those are objections that are put in at this stage. If there are issues in the future in relation to noise, you would report those at the time and they would be investigated as a result of a complaint arising. They wouldn't be active monitoring following a grant of a licence unless it was subject to a complaint.
Okay, well, I did ask in the representation about noise monitoring and soundproofing. So it's already on record. I've asked for it and it deserves a response, Richard.
Well,
do you think you've responded?
No, I can't comment. All I can say is that environmental health have not put in an objection. We are a reactive service. So if a complaint is raised in relation to noise, and clearly a complaint can't be raised in relation to noise as the matters applied for stand, because it's currently not operating at that time. But what I would say, in the event that it was granted, and I don't know one way or the other whether it will be, but if it were to be granted and it was to cause a noise nuisance, that would be the point at which a complaint would be put into environmental health, and that would be the point at which it would be monitored.
Thank you. That's answered that fully. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any subcommittee members wish to seek any clarification on any points raised? Councillor Norman?
Thank you, Chair. Just a quickie, sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Fox. I noticed on your application you wish to open earlier on a Sunday. Normally you open at 10 o'clock on a Sunday. You wish to open at 8 now. Can you answer why you wish to do that, please?
No, I thought it was 10. Sorry, no.
No, that wouldn't be.
No.
You're staying with the 10 o'clock opening on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, so so the information we got in front of us, that's incorrect, is it?
Sorry, Chair. On that point, so that is an application to amend the Sunday hours formally to 10.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, probably
Thank
just
you.
a bit of a mistake.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that. Right, no other further questions? Right, clarifications? No, I can't see anything on my screen. So I will now advise that the subcommittee will now retire to deliberate this item in private. And I thank you all for your attendance today. And I will hand over to the office to advise the next stage.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you to all parties that have joined us this morning. As the Chair's advised, we will now ask all parties except for myself, the legal officer, and the subcommittee members to depart from the hearing, and they will deliberate in private. Their decision will be communicated to the licensing officer, and this will in turn then be provided to the applicant within 5 days.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Can I just, for the point of clarification, we have a bank holiday, so it will be 5 working days.
Right, no
All
problem.
right, thanks.
Thank you
Bye.
for reminding us about that, Richard.
Thank you.
Okay, Chair, so if you just bear with me one moment, please, so I can make sure that all parties have disconnected
Thank you.
and that our recording has stopped. Bear with me.